Where is episode 8 reaction? Imagine being so stupid and slow that you could have just clicked the Twitch link yesterday. We already watched it yesterday. It's gonna get uploaded after this video. We got cut content. Episode 7, part 2 from Mystery Aninews. Let's get it.
Where we left them, Sung's return to the tower dungeon was preceded by a lot.
Yeah.
There was a momentary truce between Beck and Choi. Beck would make a discovery beyond what we saw in the anime. Sung would find himself in debt hours after becoming an S rank. Then the ant here signifies a lot more trouble than you might think. There's also an additional reason for Sung's night watch, as well as other smaller details adding to the story. So, as promised, here's part 2 to everything the anime left out from season 2, episode 7.
Let's go.
All the differences between the anime, manhwa, and web novel. But first, allow me to switch things over to the world of...
Damn it. I was caught off guard. I was mid-drinking my smoothie. The ad segue was happening. What is this? Haikyuu mobile game? Anyone playing this? Usually anime mobile games are absolute ass, right? Like, they straight up just do not give a fuck about sustainability. They just use the existing IP and the fandom to try to, milk some money out of them. And then the service just gets shut down. Like, there's some exceptions, absolutely. There's some exceptions, but there's been a lot of, like, anime, specifically Crunchyroll projects too, where they just get pulled, man. Unfortunate, but hey, here's the link to, let's see, copy link address. Does it work? Jesus Christ, that's long. Anyways. Does that work? Not really. Anyways, go pre-registered. Go get it. Next.
Use my link down in the description, after which you'll get 25 recruit tickets and 800 diamonds.
Oh my god!
Now, to pick things up.
Bet a lot of girls will play this game. Huh? Like, you need some waifus to pull for gacha. But there's also a lot of horny girls that wants to pull for husbandos and femboys. So, I wonder, like, what market the Haikyuu game will reach. Anyways, let's go.
From where we left them, Sung's bout with the press had actually been interrupted by a call from Jinna. You'd think he wouldn't even notice here, but because he was concerned it might be an emergency, Sung answered right in front of everyone.
Oh.
It turns out it was just Jinna being curious as to what was going on.
Okay.
Reporters would then bombard Sung with question after question.
Who's calling you? Is that your girlfriend? No, it's my sister.
Leading him to get so annoyed that he was genuinely considering summoning shadows to clear a path for him.
Ain't no way.
He believed Tank or Tusk might be the most appropriate.
That'd be hilarious.
Now, it was in the anime that Beck would offer to help Sung get away from here, but what we didn't see was the underlying reason for that offer. It wasn't just Beck offering out of the goodness of his heart, but rather a clever plan developed between him and Choi.
They just want to, get on his good side to try and poach him, right?
You see, since it wasn't just them that were aware of Sung's power anymore, both knew it was only a matter of time before the other S-rank guildmasters would come rushing in trying to recruit Sung themselves.
Yep.
That being the case, in order to avoid more competition and limit Sung only to themselves, Beck and Choi agreed to a truce of sorts. They decided they would pool their resources together.
Like, basically outcompete the other guilds. These two will have an alliance, and the competition will be only between these two to get Jinmu is the plan.
Escort Sung back home privately, then use said time to discuss offers with him. At least that way it would keep the competition between the two of them. The reason either still believed they even had a chance to begin with was because to them a guild would always be absolutely necessary for him. It didn't matter what abilities he had, because at the end of the day, he wouldn't be able to tackle high-ranking dungeons without one. So it's for that reason Choi and Beck believed if they played their cards right, at least one of them could acquire Sung.
Oh, they got no clue. They have no clue. Jinmu, though, it's looking like he's gonna start his own guild, huh? Like, he's not gonna join Jinho's guild. And he's still guildless. I mean, how long could we really go on just being like a free agent? Everybody wants him. I feel like we gotta start our own guild.
That's when Beck would offer assistance, all with the approval of Choi behind him, promising to use their expertise to get Sung out of here. Sung could tell this wasn't an empty promise, but it was completely unnecessary given what we saw next. Now, if you're wondering how it was Beck was able to get an accurate read of Sung's power here, it was all because right as he was about to jump, Sung had released a good portion of the magical energy he'd been concealing.
You can sense
Though
it.
the moment was barely perceptible due to how brief it was, the incredible magic power Beck was exposed to caused him to activate his Eyes of the Beast ability instinctively. It was a special skill which allowed him to accurately read any person's power.
What? Eyes of the Beast. I mean, he is the most perceptive one too that was able to tell that he kept growing, so that's pretty cool. Something's very unique to him. Did it come with him during like S rank awakening? I don't even know how skills are honestly like earned, because like for us, we beat stuff and we level up and we like level up skills to proficiency. You can like learn them by like relics and stuff like that, right? There's like runes and shit that you can like, you know, use to like learn skills, but that's pretty cool. Eyes of the Beast sounds like very unique to his specific like class. Well, you know how he's like White Tiger Man, so Eyes of the Beast thematically, it just makes sense.
He had done the same back at the Red Gate, and now his eyes were telling him Sung was stronger. So, where before Beck knew he could fight Sung, albeit at the cost of a limb or two, now Sung's power dwarfed him completely.
Not anymore.
His magic now was incomparably greater than his magic before.
Man, just goes to show how crazy that Tusk dungeon was. The amount of high orcs being slain and taking Tusk like after Red Gate, and then one more dungeon, and now it's just like incomprehensible. And then there's the Demon Castle stuff too, right? There's the Demon Castle stuff too that happened after Red Gate. But now, after Baran, the Demon Monarch that we slayed in episode 8, I think he's Jeju Ant raid ready. Bro could probably be solo raiding.
It was an observation which would lead him to the conclusion Sung could level up. This leads to a rather interesting cutscene with Beck later, since with this new information that Sung had grown stronger, he was now eager to learn everything he could about him. That being the case, Beck would lock himself into his office, then immediately start searching for everything he could on hunters who could grow stronger. It was the only thing he could do given his clues were limited.
Is there anyone
3
else?
hours would then be spent searching
Nobody,
every
right?
resource available, including a special website only hunters of the highest rank had access to.
Special
As he
website?
expected, though, not a single thing
Okay.
could be found on what he was looking for. It was a futile effort that led him to think maybe he was overreacting.
No. He's just the outlier. There's just no other person like Jinmu that exists in the world of solo leveling as of the anime so far. That's my impression. There's nobody that can keep progressing. But now that we're like Baran the Demon Monarch, Jinmu the Shadow Monarch. What the hell really is a monarch? I was thinking that maybe there's like other monarchs, just like Demon Monarch, that can level up and progress, just like Jinmu, but we don't really get any of confirmations of stuff like that. Maybe we'll meet some other like monarchs in the future that can actually fucking speak human language, and then we can figure out like, what exactly is a monarch?
Or maybe Sung just wasn't a hunter at all, with his existence defying every notion society had come to develop about hunters. Beck was starting to think perhaps Sung was just someone blessed by the gods. He truly had no idea what he was dealing with anymore. It was right as he was about to give up, though, that in a last-ditch effort, he would simply do the equivalent of Googling hunter level up ability. At first, nothing in particular came up, but after 5 more
what are these website searches over here? I don't know. I'm just looking at it. Just random Google search engine stuff.
At first,
hunter level up table, classic hunter, but this is World of Warcraft stuff.
Nothing in
it's just World of Warcraft stuff.
Particular came up.
How hunters can level up? Soul leveling arise. Hey, this is a mobile game ad.
But after 5 more pages of scrolling, an insignificant forum post would catch Beck's eye here.
Wait.
It was an anonymous post on a public hunter forum.
Oh my god.
One that read like this. Now, for those who watched
did Jinmu make this?
From season 1, episode 3,
Jinmu posted it.
Recognize this as the post Sung made back when he first got his abilities.
Oh shit.
So, what does Beck do now that he's stumbled upon it? Well, he would first call on.
He's got a lead.
He knew this was something huge, then have him cross-reference the date of the post with what Sung was doing that day.
Uh-oh.
It only took a few moments for On to search Sung's file, after which he would reveal Sung had woken up from the hospital that day. It was news that confirmed a non-zero chance of Sung being the one who made this post.
Coincidence?
So, Beck then went to investigate Sung's file himself, examining his hunter history in its entirety. What he noticed was a very peculiar change starting immediately after the Double Dungeon incident. To Beck, this was
He's
nothing
onto
more
it.
than a vague memory, but seeing it now did remind him he was actually present that day. He may not have known who Sung was back then, but what he did know was that from that point on, Sung was completely different. Like,
True.
where before all Sung did was help out in the lowest rank association raids, to start freelancing and even clear several C rank gates.
It's way too suspicious. The amount of things that Jinwoo has done is just unreal. At every interesting situation that happens, somehow this supposed E rank is present. And now with that like Reddit post, basically Jinwoo posted, publicly, right, in season 1 of the cut content. That's it. But like, will he confront him about it? And even if he does, there's nothing that Jinwoo, like, do we need to hide a secret? Would we be exposed as a fraud? Or would we be praised as like a godlike being of like, oh my god, you are the chosen one? I don't know. This gets pretty interesting. The more that like you try to confront Jinwoo to like reveal the truth about his power. I don't know.
After, well, that clearly indicated something went to.
If I was him, okay, this is gonna sound fucked up, but competition is competition. I would try to approach him and get him into our guild. But if he plays hard to get, then the ultimatum would have to happen, right? So first approach it in a positive way, be very welcoming, but he rejected. Then confront him, right? Then confront him about like, so, about your Reddit post. And then, I don't know, be like, I'll reveal the truth if you don't join our guild. That sounds pretty shitty though. I don't think doing an ultimatum would be enough for Jinwoo to fold and just join the guild like that. It just doesn't really feel right. So, you know what? Let's scrap that idea.
To change him inside the Double Dungeon. It was a clear shift in hunter activity that implied this wasn't your typical reawakening. No. To Beck, this was a hunter who, in only a few months, grew from the E rank to the S rank. Still, there was no way to fully confirm whether this anonymous poster really was Sung, but if their words were to be believed and Sung's power grew the way the post described, then it was truly unfathomable how much stronger Sung could become. It was a revelation that
maybe he could like approach Jinwoo and literally lie that like, hey Hunter Woo, do you see a panel that appears telling you to do daily quests? I recently have been seeing these interesting things. I'm just trying to talk to other hunters if they see it too. Just literally just lie. and try to get Jinwoo to like reveal the secret. Like, yeah, bro, I've been seeing that shit too. No, I don't think that's gonna happen. That's too silly.
Led back to the conclusion recruiting Sung was impossible. He now finally understood why it was Sung was so disinterested with them. All it really came down to was a simple matter of why join a guild when you can easily create your own.
You could be a solo guild.
With the powers Sung had, it really was only a matter of time before his guild would become the best.
He doesn't need them. They need him. That's the difference. It doesn't matter which guild he goes to, that guild will simply dominate because of Jinwoo's presence. So why not just start our own guild and reap all the profits and all the different benefits that we would not get if we joined an established guild?
So that for Beck was a truly disheartening thought to dwell on. Such a matter quickly became an afterthought though, because when Beck started to consider the true impact of a hunter who could grow infinitely stronger, he knew it was just a matter of time before the entire world would be focused on him. Forget the impact on the global.
I think after Jeju Island raid, that will happen. We are now getting other countries, nations involved. As of episode 8, Japan is involved. They're also hinting at like China, right? Like other places in Asia. If Jinwoo is able to clutch in the Jeju raid arc, and like other people just got destroyed, then will that not be like global news? That's a global news ready headline. And then the scaling gets even crazier. Like there's like America already exists. Now we don't get to see much of America, but like we saw Dongsu, right? But I just feel like at this rate, we're going global.
Global hunter community as a whole, Sung's existence was sure to change the world as he knew it. So it was for that reason that Beck knew he needed to talk to Sung more than ever now. The thing is, If he wouldn't even talk to him for such ludicrous offers, then it was likely he wouldn't talk to him for anything else. The hardest part was for sure going to be getting face to face with him. An still hadn't yet given up on recruiting Sung himself though, so there was a funny scene in the manhwa where he was camped outside his apartment.
Manager An,
Now,
stalking.
I can understand why the anime decided not to include all this, but it really does make Beck's knowledge so much more impactful. Like, where the anime kind of disregards what's probably the biggest revelation in Hunter society ever, the novel portrays what I think is an accurate reaction to it. The way it loops back to an event all the way from the beginning of the series too, serves to make this scene so much more interesting.
Yeah, they definitely could have had Detective Beck highlight more, but unfortunately, it's like we're so like scrapped for time, and it's not like the most exciting things that people care about. In a comprehensive story, that would be nice to get, but like in an anime, right? You're limited to the amount of like stuff that you can cram into an episode, so probably just like prioritizing other stuff.
It also highlights just how insightful Beck really is. In any case, it's before.
And you wouldn't expect like, a hunter that's themed after a beast to be smart or intelligent. Like White Tiger. Like you would think that he's just like a hothead who's not able to think, who's all just bronze and no brains, but this guy, he seems to be just everything.
Before we head back to the auction house, that in the manhwa, a panel would show Hwang Dong-soo's reaction to the news as well.
Oh?
He would see that Sung was still
That's right, bro thought that he was dead.
alive, and that would remind us the conflict with them is still ongoing. Now, the auction house contains
The one-sided conflict is still ongoing. What's he gonna do? Try to kill him? I mean, at this point, I don't think it's gonna be even close. But our next reunion, maybe Jinmu will just destroy him. Just like how, Papa destroyed him already. So father and son, both of them will just beat his ass.
one of the bigger.
It's like the reverse Ryuga in Beyblade Metal Saga. Ryuga went on to just destroy Jenga Hagane and his dad. It's just father and son, both frauds. But here, it's a bit different.
Portions of cut content from the episode, but it's also the least important. That being the case, rather than go through it detail by detail, I'm instead just gonna give you a more summarized version.
Okay.
So, Sung would take a taxi straight to the auction house from the press conference since clearing the tower dungeon was his #1 priority. It's here the taxi driver could tell that Sung was a hunter, so just like any normal person dealing with a hunter, he was extra careful when it came to Sung's mood. He didn't want to get on Sung's bad side since there were many hunters whose personalities could easily lead to incidents.
Interesting.
Sung would just
Abuse
spend
of power.
the duration of the ride on his phone, scrolling through social media to see his name was everywhere.
Bro's
It was
ego
pretty weird
surfing.
since this wasn't the same response when Cha got announced as an S rank 2 years ago.
What? Nobody glazed Hayden like that? What? I thought that people go crazy and they'd be like, oh my god, the next idol is here, the dancer, S rank beauty. But nah, she didn't get glazed like that. Jinmu's getting glazed like no other.
As it turns out, she was able to request that the association keep her details confidential.
There it is. That makes a lot more sense.
It was a privilege Sung could have asked for himself, but didn't end up doing since he didn't even know it was an option.
Yeah, but I don't think he was even aware, right? Jinmu's not really, like, he's not an expert in these different things. He's just kind of, honestly, like a country bumpkin, just kind of just being exposed to all the city stuff.
That's why every reporter seemed to know all about him. They all had open access to his public hunter records. So, Sung would request for that confidentiality online, then call the auction house and prep them for the appraisal of an artifact they couldn't help but be suspicious of. In fact, if it hadn't been for Sung's newly announced S rank, any other hunter would have been laughed at and hung up on. So, Sung knew this was the exact moment he got reevaluated for. It was also those at the auction house would have to take him seriously. Even then, the appraisers still didn't believe him because knowing what he knew about how artifacts were made, even the world's best forger using the best materials and putting their entire soul into it could at best make an artifact amplifying power by 50%.
What's going on, Welf? And yeah, we are Orb of Avarice. That's like 2x.
Such were the limits given even the most ideal circumstances. Since Sung was a premium client who was sure to have business with them in the future though, the appraiser decided to continue with his request anyway. It
Money.
didn't matter how impossible it was for such an artifact to exist, they needed to oblige since Sung was an S rank. Now, the whole appraisal process was actually rather extensive, but to keep it brief, there were two ways that they tested it. First, they would use a B rank mage hunter as a base, get a numerical reading of his power before the orb, then have him hold the orb and take his reading again.
Makes sense.
This was to verify the orb did what Sung said, and it did in fact boost the hunter's base reading by 100%. Numbers were one thing, but to actually show that boost in action was another. So, with many clients preferring to see what the artifact they're buying does, the second stage of the assessment involved recording a physical test. The hunter would first activate a blizzard spell without the orb, then maintain the spell, pick up the orb, and display the results after.
And just get
For
2x.
this case in particular, the hunter had to cancel his spell almost immediately because to continue this enhanced blizzard would have frozen the entire room instantly.
It's the real
It had
deal.
once again proven this was in fact the invaluable artifact Sung said it was. The orb actually had so much power that the moment the appraiser laid his hands on it, for the first time ever he wanted to try and steal it. Had
What?
it not been an S-rank hunter provided.
What?
For the first time ever he wanted to try and steal it.
What the fuck? That's how juicy the relic artifact it was, bro. That's how juicy the artifact was. That's crazy. He's like, it's mine. Why shouldn't I take it? Like some fucking Lord of the Rings shit.
Had it not been an S-rank hunter providing it to him, then there was a good chance he
That's pretty
actually might
silly.
have tried to. In any case, the appraiser was eager to at least proceed with the sale since the 5% commission on it was sure to make him and the others rich.
Okay.
Sung first asked to
Get that
peruse the
commission,
artifacts
baby.
they had to buy those since he wanted to make sure that they had what he needed. As it turns out, the type he was looking for was actually one of the most common out there. He just couldn't find it online due to how expensive they were. So, in the end, Sung would be able to buy the artifacts without needing to sell anything. He just needed to use his own daggers as collateral, then take out a small loan from the auction house. It's pretty funny since Sung hasn't even been in S rank for an entire day, yet somehow he's already found himself in debt.
Bro is already blowing the first paycheck. First paycheck hasn't even showing up. This is dangerous. Lifestyle creep.
It's back home that Sung would find reporters everywhere, but Jinna would prevent him from doing anything about it. As much as he wanted to have them leave, Jinna wouldn't allow it since Sung was already getting hate online. The public
What?
didn't really like the way Sung disregarded the reporters at the first press conference.
Oh, we got a bunch of haters. Hey, but hey, that's a good thing. If you don't have haters, you need to have haters, bro. If you get big enough, people get jealous. They're like, oh, this selfish, entitled, rude person didn't, talk to the paparazzi. How dare he?
And now he was getting heat for being a bit arrogant. Luckily, this attention wasn't gonna last for much longer, since as soon as Sung's request for confidentiality was processed, the reporters would get word to stay away from Sung. So really, this was nothing but a temporary problem. Fast forward to when Sung is setting up the Night Watch, and this would actually be something he did earlier on in the novel.
Oh?
It was after he'd just met with the chairman that Sung would come home to find his neighborhood way too dark. It's then that he would remember a case of ongoing serial murders, some of which were
What?
happening nearby.
I wonder if that had to do with, Kong Tech guy. The guy that, Hunters Association guy.
Since the victims of those were all women, it was here that Sung decided he should set something up to protect Jinna.
Woman Slayer.
She did frequent these roads late at night herself, so there was a good chance that she could become a target. Of course, he personally couldn't just sit around and guard her, so that's when Sung came up with the idea to have patrols. It was also he could keep Jinna safe from any potential serial killers. He also believed it was his way of giving back to the community. So, with a great sense of satisfaction, Sung couldn't help but smirk at the idea of providing S-rank defense services for free.
Yeah, pretty much, right? He's a very benevolent. He is the neighborhood hero. Some Batman shit, but he doesn't have to do it. His shadows can do it. How convenient.
If anyone found out that that was the case, then he was sure the value of his entire neighborhood would skyrocket.
True. Didn't even think about that. Everyone would want to live around here. property skyrockets. Oh my god, the gentrification. Thanks to Sung Jin Woo. You see this monster, bro? I cannot believe he's driving out the poors and only cultivating, a neighborhood of rich people. Oh my god, what a rich elitist snob.
As for the soldiers protecting Jinna personally, they were strong enough to handle up to an A-rank hunter. So unless the killer was a high-ranked hunter himself, Jinna was sure to be safe from pretty much everything.
She's chilling.
Now, there's two more important things I want to cover before getting to the tower dungeon, and the first is Mr. Yu's eternal slumber.
Bother.
This was a death sentence in more ways than one, since not only did the eternal slumber eventually put you into a coma-like state indefinitely, it also drained a person's life force away. Unless the afflicted was hooked up to one of these magic life support machines, the disease would without fail eventually kill them.
Oh shit.
So it was before these machines had been discovered that the eternal slumber was 100% fatal.
What about Mama?
It probably still was, considering that not a single person had ever woken up from it. This would lead the doctor to make the absurd suggestion of never seeing Jinho again, but that was a burden Mr. Yu wasn't willing to put on Jinho. As a father who cared deeply for his family, he would never want to impede his son's life that way. Plus, with more and more hunters being born every day, as well as mana becoming more commonplace in everyday appliances, Mr. Yu knew his exposure to magic was going to increase no matter what. So, with society moving forward and him being left behind, what this was simply natural selection.
He did say, "Am I being cold?" Man, that is sad. To have your parents hide a sickness because they don't want to bother the kids. And then when he finds out, I understand the sentiment, but when he finds out later on, he's going to be even more sad. That's tragic.
To Mr. Yu, it felt like he was being culled. Even so, that still wasn't enough to make him give up yet. As someone who was never the victim and never lost, this was simply another challenge for him to overcome.
Whoa, what? Bro was never the victim and he's never lost. Whoa, damn, okay. I see you, Dad. This dude's fucking, he just has it like that, huh? I bet he's gonna overcome this. How? Jinwoo's elixir. But how many uses will that potion have? Cause we gotta take care of Mom. Will there be enough for Dad here? We'll see.
It was no different from any of the others in his life. Well, at least that's how he wanted to feel anyway. Now, the other important scene I wanted to cover was this right here involving the ant. This was a remote island off the coast of Japan, and
I can't get over how good the background art for this specific episode was. The animation director, responsible for this, always just has goated background art. The best one was the moonlit ocean with the ant flying over it.
These two were the only two hunters on it. As a low D and E rank, their jobs weren't to fight in gates and clear them,
They're
but was
cooked.
instead to make the rounds, talk to the community, and find out if there was a gate.
They're
It was
cooked.
of the utmost importance to locate them as fast as possible. Should one remain
That makes a lot more sense why there were actually E-rank hunters over on the island near Japan. Because in episode 8, when they announced that a couple dudes just among the hunters that died, there was a couple E-ranks too. I thought that they sent E-ranks to subjugate that place, but no. This makes a lot more sense.
hidden and lead to a dungeon break, then every resident of the island was sure to be killed from it. That being the case, both these hunters were well aware of what was at stake here. It's for that reason they would make their rounds every single day, talk to the residents to see if they saw anything, then use a manometer to determine if there were any changes in magical energy. It's once a gate was found that hunters from the outside would have to be contacted, after which it would take 3 days for them to get organized and get here. So, with 3 days being the time it took to get ready, that meant these two needed to find the gate within 3 days of its appearance. It was their responsibility as the only two hunters present. Well, it was up until this moment.
GG.
To finally switch things over to the tower dungeon now, that's when the story starts to get back on pace again. Not too much was different, but there are a few details worth mentioning. Sung was happy to be back at a place where he could cut loose without worry, but the difficulty was going to increase exponentially from here. His new quest filled him with excitement, since with each of his other class skills being indispensable, there was no doubt that this new one would be too. In the manhwa, Tusk looked
Why would the system tell us to slay a monarch when we're also a monarch? Is it competition amongst the monarchs? I mean, it's not as if the system specifically tells us to hunt down monarchs. Like, we've been given many different quests, right? Clear this out, clear that out, kill these people, right? And stuff like that. But the system specifically ordered to kill this thing. And what's the demon lore in episode 8? That like the demons used to exist in demon realm. And there was this entity that, was so strong that they need to basically just unite all the forces and pretty much like get ready for war. And then, like, something happens and now they just live in this domain. What the fuck is going on? I don't know.
Class skills being indispensable, there was no doubt that this new one would be too. In the manhwa.
Oh, I forgot about that. Shadow exchange. Last episode, I was just too focused on, the fight being popping off. The next episode, then episode 9, will kind of show us Shadow Exchange.
Tusk looked absolutely incredible, and his attack had killed enough high-ranking demons to level up Sung twice. So his stats were sitting pretty now at this. And with his intelligence almost at the 200 mark, that brought his MP to over 5,000 now.
Let's go.
I know that may seem like a lot compared to what it was before, but with the way his skills were improving, Sung knew he'd need a whole lot more. Like, if he wanted to infinitely revive the number of soldiers he was
yeah, that's the tricky thing too, because as we like continuously add army, like members into the army, that means that you need more mana. So like you need to constantly increase the mana, like int points, because your army size is getting bigger and bigger too.
Expecting to have later on, 5,000 mana certainly wasn't going to cut it.
We need 10k,
Plus, with
20k.
being the only way to improve his class skills, more mana was simply a byproduct of improving that. As he was now though, he was capable of extracting up to 820 shadows at any given time, but only allowed to store 155 of them.
Okay.
His current army consisted of 127. Unfortunately, the Orb of Avarice did nothing to improve those.
Prime number.
That's why Sung felt it was better in Tusk's hands. Now, Sung wasn't the only one leveling up here, as with each passing day, his soldiers grew stronger too.
Let's go. We got promotions happening.
Shadow-like tank had leveled up 10 times already. It and the others were leveling up faster than he was.
Tank looks so cheeky here. Look at that. Look at Tank's face. So happy. He's like flexing. Like, you see that, boys? I'm leveling up. And then Iron here, I think, looks like kind of like, oh shit. Damn, you getting ahead of me.
Getting to floor 80 was pretty smooth sailing, but it's after that that things started to get a bit tricky. That's where I'm gonna end things off, so next episode I'm sure we'll get to cover the rest of the tower.
And that's the episode 8 content.
And, the true best girl of solo leveling.
Oh yeah.
So let me know what you thought down in the...
I can't believe he spoiled! How dare he spoil Esil reveal in episode 7 cut content? I don't think it really matters, because he dropped this episode pretty much after, episode 8 was released. But like, remember the ReZero reactions? When we were covering ReZero stuff and some of his cut content was just spoiling some stuff. Anyways, it's not a big deal. Please go check out Aninews' content. Here's the link to the video. Go give it a like. Go pre-register to the HiQ Gaming, if you actually want to play that mobile game using his link right there. I'll see you next time.